Check, 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 check. All right. We're back in business, y'all. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Just trying to get my microphone right here. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're in business. I think we are in business. Common Sense Buffs, welcome to the community live stream. Man, listen, this week has been absolutely off the hook. You guys have been tapped in with me. Much appreciated. The channel is growing. The channel is growing. We are now currently at 875 subscribers and counting. You guys have been liking the content, supporting the content. You have been in the comments letting me know what you think about this Colorado football team after the spring game. Let me know if you can hear me. We had some technical difficulties on the first one, but we're going to get it right, man. It looks like my mic does sound nice right now. So appreciate each and every one of you for tapping in with me on the live show. I saw that Coach Dre was already in here. I appreciate you guys helping me get my technical difficulties straightened out. So I pray that you all have had an outstanding week. I have had an outstanding week, guys. I pray that the Almighty has been blessing you, that whatsoever your hand touches is prospering. I pray that you're in good health. And if you're going through a little bit of hard time, man, just remember, hard times don't last forever. Today, we're talking about defense. Defense. And I think we might have a real defense in Boulder, guys. Let me know what you think. Do we have a real defense in Boulder? Let's make that the first question. As you guys come up in here, man, wipe your feet on the carpet. Say hello. Let us know that you're in here, where you're tuning in from, and let me know what you think. Does Colorado have a real defense? All right, we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at the new roster and all the roster updates, all the changes that are happening, all the movement that's happening as these players jockey for position in the 2-deep lineup. But I'm excited, man. The community show is the biggest, the largest. We're continuing to grow. You never know who might pull up and join us for the community show. So let me get this comment in here. And we're going to get that comment on the screen. What do you think, people? Does Colorado have a real defense? Does Colorado have a real defense? So we dropped the Tuesday film study where we broke down highlights from the spring game. And, you know, one of the areas on the defense I had a little bit of concern about was the defensive line. But after the spring game and some of the things I saw, and as I did a lot of research for this video, looking at Chris Marve's defensive philosophy, which we'll talk about as well, it started to relieve me of some of my fears or concerns about the defense. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that on this stream as well. I know many of you join me on TV, so if you don't have your mobile device, you cannot engage. It's all good. I appreciate you. Hopefully you're cleaning the crib or something and I'm keeping you company. Make whatever the task is a little bit sooner. A little bit, go by a little bit faster. All right. So I got a couple of topics that I want to hit on here while you guys come in here and talk to me. But post-spring game, how are you feeling about Colorado's defense? How are you feeling about Colorado's defense? I'm excited, man. I am excited. So we're going to be looking at the defensive depth chart. I'm going to pull that up here in a second. But this is not going to be a surface level conversation about Chris Marve. I'm going to try to take a deep dive. Did a lot of research on this. And he's a true defensive coach, man. Former outstanding linebacker himself. Loves football. You can tell when you watch him in the well-off videos and Reach the People. He's extremely passionate about what he does. And I think that passion is getting translated to his players. So we're going to be talking today about what Chris Marve believes, what has actually worked under Chris Marve, what hasn't worked, and how that translates to this particular roster. All right. So let's start off with Chris Marve's defense at its core and some pillars that I identified of this defense that we're going to see in 2026 or some version of it, man. And I'm making some assumptions here based on what has worked in the past. But, if you're a good coach, you're going to make some adjustments based on personnel. And I think we have a good defensive mind running this Colorado defense. But the one thing that is always true about defense is you got to stop the run. You got to stop the run. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here because what we're going to do is look at our defensive rankings for Colorado from 2025. Let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me loud and clear. What's good, Coach Dre? Welcome back, sir. Appreciate you having you back. Apologize for the technical difficulties here, man. You're going to be very, very integral to this conversation because you were one of the people that told me to kind of calm down about the defensive line. And after the spring game, I'm a little bit calmer than I was. It's good that you're here. And great job on your show, man. Big shout out to you and Rob the Man Media for all the work that you guys are doing, putting out quality content, educating the community. Appreciate you. Blake Gupton. Blake, did you give me the name Mr. 1 Mile a Day? I appreciate that nickname, man. Blake Gupton, welcome. So we're going to be talking about defense, but we have to level set here. We got to see what we were working with in 2025 and now what we're hoping will change in 2026. So I'm going to go Colorado Buffaloes 2025 defensive statistics. And it wasn't pretty. I mean, if you watch those games, I felt bad. So let's see here. Let's take everything. I use AI a lot for research, and I know you can't always trust what AI has to say. So I sprinkle in this disclaimer. We're going to be pulling this up in real time. A lot of this is not going to be vetted because now, even if you're using Google, most of the search summaries are going to be provided by AI. Okay. But we're going to take a look just for conversational purposes and see what that defense looked like in 2025. All right, let me know if you can see my screen and let's get to work. Okay, so based on 2025 season data, the Colorado Buffaloes defense allowed 30 points per game and 42 and a half rush attempts. That meant teams were putting up that many points and they could lean into the run to do it. They didn't really need to throw the ball all around the yard to score 30 points on us. They could reliably run the ball and be successful against that defense. 5.25 yards allowed per rush, while the passing defense allowed a completion rate of 55%. We definitely want to see that lower. Leading defenders is Tawfiq Byard with significant tackle involvement and Arden Walker with 2.5 sacks. I mean, 2.5 sacks on the year. Think about where we were in 2024 versus where we ended up being in 2025. Top Row Jam says, we won't know if we have a good defense until Georgia Tech. Yeah, they're going to be playing each other until Georgia Tech. But I think there's some signs that we can diagnose if we're going to be in better shape against Georgia Tech than we were in 2025. And we're going to have a conversation about that. But very good point. Anything that we say right now is just speculation. This is all speculation and conversation. All right, so let's look at scoring defense. You cannot win football games allowing 30 points per game. Now, the crazy thing is, this is what we want to do to other people. Here's why we want to score 30 or more points against other people, because if you score 30 or more points, you win the game. So if you're a defense giving up 30 or more points a game, that means in a lot of situations, you're going to be on the losing end of that statistic. All right. Now, when they did win, look at the difference here. When they did win games, the defense only allowed 14.7 points. But when they lost, they gave up 35.8 points. Okay. So I guess another way of asking this question is, do we think we have a defense that's going to allow 30 or more points per game? Or is this defense going to be closer to 14 points per game, right? So let's refine that question a little bit and put it up on the screen. Okay. So this is now the new question. Do we have a defense that is better than 2025? Okay. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about it. Do we have a defense that's better than 2025? Are we closer to 14 points per game or 35 points per game? Or are we taking the top road jam opinion, which is, hey, you don't know what you got until it's on the field and it's live bullets? All right, we're not taking live fire right now. Passing defense, 55.4% completion rate with an average rating of 133.49 for opposing QBs. That is crazy. QBR of 133 for opposing QBs. You're not going to win a lot of football games giving up numbers like that. Rushing defense allowing a little bit more than half of a first down with every rush, with every carry. Passing yards allowed 200 yards per game against conference opponents. And our sack leader, 2.5 sacks. You got to be able to bring better pressure than that, guys, if you want to win football games. Key defensive performance. Look at this. Tawfiq Buyer, he was a dog. Arden Walker obviously didn't have the season he wanted to have. Neither did DJ McKinney, and I don't think Preston Hodge may have had the season he wanted to have. And they have John Slaughter here. I mean, going into last season, who were the names that we were really thinking were going to really pop off? Maybe a Martavius French, maybe a Reginald Hughes, maybe a Carter Stoutmeyer, maybe a Anquin Barnes. What's the big dude that came over? Jaheim Otis. None of them obviously are listed here, and even the guys listed here didn't quite have the seasons that they wanted to have, except maybe a Tawfiq Buyer, who I believe is now at Texas A&M. So, W. Rashid, welcome back to the chat, man. It's good to see you. You always here, always getting active. Appreciate you so much. Big shout out to W. Rashid, man. I think the biggest hindrance, he says, let's go ahead and show this. I think the biggest hindrance that we know of at this point would be communication between players on defense. Everything else we really don't know. Yeah, this is their first time playing together. And it's like pickup basketball, right? When you got your five, you feel pretty good. But if you got a random kind of mixture of five guys in a pickup game, you're not so confident. So great point there. How do these guys gel together, learn a new defense, become really a brotherhood and play as one unit at all levels, D-line, linebackers, and in the secondary? How do they get to the ball, right? How do they respond when they're down? You're not going to have the lead in every single game. How do you get big stops before halftime, late in the fourth quarter? Are you the kind of team that's going to bend and not break? So we're going to talk about the defensive philosophy of Chris Marve and how that might lend to or create some problems for a defense's ability to continue to improve, especially when a lot of guys are new on the team and playing together. So appreciate you, W. Rashid. Let's see what my brother Blake Gupton has to say. He believes the defense will be better overall. Better overall, are we closer to 14 points a game, 35 points a game, 21 points a game? Because we're trusting that Brendan Marion is going to put up big numbers, right? But we still got to hold we got to create a lot of 3 and outs. So are you more of a 14 point per game guy, or you think we might not be that good? We'll look at some of Chris Marve's defensive history as well to see what his other defenses gave up, to see if we're even within range as we talk about these numbers. This is why you come here, guys. This is why you come here. We do deep analysis. We're not just giving opinions. We're looking at the numbers. We're talking through it. So go ahead and hit that like button if you're not subscribed. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, Blake. Blake is saying if he has to put money on it, he's going to go with 21 points. He's going to go with 21 points. All right. So let's keep this conversation going. I appreciate the engagement, guys. So, number one, we know Chris Marve wants to stop the run. So let's dig into defensive statistics against the run. Wow, this is crazy, guys. I don't know if you could see this, but I was reading through it before I started commenting on it. We already knew that they were giving up 5.5 yard or 5.25 yards per carry over 12 games. Um, and it was throughout the whole game, right? So they were close to 4 yards a carry in the first half, and then it got worse in the second half. As the game wore on, just like a great boxer landing those body punches, you land enough body punches in a boxing match, man, you're gonna wear your opponent down. And that's exactly what opposing teams did to that defense. And the offense didn't help us out at all because there were multiple 3-and-outs where the defense did have a great stand, but then just had to jog back on the field and try to do it again. So we got body punched in 2025, and it wore on us in the second half or when we needed to go to OT. Rushing touchdowns allowed per game, 2 rushing touchdowns per game. All right, we were giving up. Total rushing yards allowed 2,337 rushing yards. Opponents averaged 197 rushing yards per game. You're not going to win a lot of football games giving up that much in the run game. That's just not going to work for you. Okay. The people that really excelled in the run game looks here like BYU had the highest average at 5.78. And one of the other things is that uh, a lot of quarterbacks were able to run on us too. So a lot of these numbers are not just running backs, right? Where we might run up against a Big 12 offense with a real dog running back, and that was the only problem with our run game. We were getting quarterbacks who were having great run games against us as well. You just cannot have that, right? You cannot have that. So BYU had the best in terms of average. Delaware not so much. All right. So I appreciate that. Now here's the thing with they already have Santana Hopper here as a defensive player to watch, even though we're looking at 2025. That's why I always say with AI, keep your eye out for data that's a little bit misplaced. Okay, so tenet number one of a Chris Marve defense is stop the run. All right, so clearly we need to have this, right? Maybe 100 yards a game, maybe 125 yards a game, but you definitely want those run yards to be hard earned. And because you want your defense off the field so that you can put the ball in the hands of Brennan Marion's offense. Okay, so we got to get better in stopping the run. I'm thinking if we could shave about 75 yards off of here per game, we're going to be in much better shape. Now, the other thing that a Chris Marve defense leans on is he uses linebackers to control the game. So, being a former linebacker himself, it makes sense that his defense would put linebackers at the center of all the action. And then he loves to bring pressure. Man, if you watch Chris Marve's defense on well off, there's pressure coming from everywhere, right? It might be coming from the secondary, it might be coming from the second level, and he's trying to create various ways to get pressure on the quarterbacks, and which is why it bodes well that one of the strengths of our defense is our edge room, right? Speed off the edges. I think Chris Marve is going to be able to use those guys very well in his defense. And then everything branches off those three things, right? Stopping the run, controlling the game with linebacker play, and then creating chaos with pressure. So this is not just a scheme thing. It is really when you watch his defense, it has a lot of those SEC principles, right? About stopping the run and stopping the run being a non-negotiable. So a couple of stops along his career, which is why I really like what his resume shows that gives him the probability of actually being able to improve our defensive run stopping. Multiple stops along his coaching career, including Florida State and Mississippi State. and he held the title of run game coordinator. Run game coordinator. So he was the person tasked with figuring out how to stop the opponent's run game. And that really tells you everything you know and why the emphasis on stopping the run is so important for Chris Marve. Okay. So, philosophy point, if you're thinking about it, right? If you could stop the run, nothing else really matters. I'm sorry. If you can't stop the run, nothing else really matters. And that's what we saw in 2025. But if you can stop the run, now your defense becomes dangerous because now he could bring the pressure like he likes to bring. And it forces opposing offenses into second and long and third and longs. And this is where I think we really want to live in 2026. We want to force the offensive coordinator to get creative about how they're going to overcome these second and third and long situations. And I think if we can have teams in those positions, particularly like Top Road Jam said, right, as a Georgia Tech, which is a run first offense, if we could really pull this off in that first game, we're going to be forcing Georgia Tech with a brand new quarterback into these second and third and long situations that they're not going to have a lot of familiarity with, especially in a high pressure game, which that first game is definitely going to be. All right, so let me see what you guys got to say here in the comments. W. Rashid said, how well did Chris Marve stop the run at Virginia Tech? We're going to look at that, Blake. Maybe if they run a 3-3-5, we'll look at the depth chart here in a second. Then hopefully it might help the D line by highlighting the linebacker play. So, do you see Tyler Martinez, Gideon Lampron, Leona LaFau as your three linebackers, or do you see one of the edge rushers kind of standing up at the line of scrimmage and moving in and out, like a Balansama Kamara or a Manny Eziogu, or maybe even a Kylan Salter, right? Because he's originally a linebacker. So I'd love to hear from you on that, W. Rashid. Let me know how you think they schemed that up in a 3-3-5 and who's going to be the three linebackers. Don't know the exact stats offhand, but they did pretty well, I believe, in 2024. I think the biggest issue was the offense kept going 3 and out, tiring out the defense more. Yeah, I think so. If the offense was able to put together more long drives, remember they lost a lot of games by 7 points or less. So even though they were giving up a lot of points, many of the games that they lost were close games, even though the play on the field looked really ugly. If the offense would have been able to sustain drives more often than not, I think it would have helped the defensive play a lot more. So let's see what. Let's take this one. Now, guys, remember we got super chats now, and we got gifts as well. So if you want to support the channel financially, you can do that. We got a couple of, we got one member for sure. I haven't checked the analytics recently, but people are subscribing and becoming members as well. So if you want to support the show, I would appreciate it. Talking about stopping the run, Samu was moving around good. Yeah, I like what I saw from Samu. You'll see when I pull up the depth chart here that he has been moving up my depth chart because of his play. I think he's leaning out too. I think he's getting used to the altitude as well. So that's going to bode well for him. I don't think he's at like peak physical condition right now. I want to see Samu with Body by Swayze training at altitude for the next 6 months and what he looks like against Georgia Tech. I think the progress that he's making right now with his physical conditioning is going to position him to be a real contributor for this defense. He was getting to the ball carrier. He was in pursuit. I think he moved well. Hopper looked good as well. You'll see that on my depth chart, as well as Ezra Christensen. I was surprised to see him because I hadn't seen him in the practices leading up to the spring game. So it was good to see him in the spring game. But football shape is different from just being in shape. And whenever you miss weeks of practice, my concern is always how quickly can you get back into football shape? So hopefully he finds some consistency. I don't know if the reason why he was out was injury, which would be understandable. Hopefully, it's not eligibility issues having him to be pulled in and out of practices or missed practices because there are persistent questions about eligibility. But you want to see a guy like that because when you play as a D line, you play as a unit. So you get to know each other's tendencies. The more he's out and not playing next to Santana Hopper, the less they know each other. And so you want to see those two guys gel together. And then kind of combinations, right? Ezra Christensen and Samu combo, a Santana Hopper and Samu, or a Santana Hopper and Ezra Christensen, or Dylan Manuel and Ezra Christensen. So the more they play together, the better. And I'm excited to see what happens going into the summer and into fall camp. So great points there, Blake. All right. So let's keep this analysis going here, guys. I appreciate how engaged you are. I appreciate how engaged you are. All right, let's talk about pressure. We already talked about stopping the run. And here's where I think Colorado Buffaloes fans should get excited because I think we have the talent to be a high pressure defense. Talk about an area where we needed to bounce back from is in the area of getting to the quarterback. So if you can stop the run, and I think Warren Sapp's quote is, we want to trample the run on the way to the quarterback. We want to trample the run on the way to the quarterback. If you can stop the run, you earn the privilege to rush the passer. So at Virginia Tech, I think this is his best year. I think he had a down year in 2024 before he left, but his best year as DC at Virginia Tech's defense was top 10 in sacks with 39 sacks. Now, if I'm an edge rusher, if I'm a Kylan Salter, if I'm a Balansama Kamara, if I'm a Aziogu, and my favorite defensive lineman, Toby Anene, mark this down. Toby Anene is going to shock a lot of people in 2026 with how well he's going to play and the impact he's going to have. He was one of my favorite players in the spring game. And if I had to give out an MVP, I know there are a lot of candidates who could get it, but I was watching Toby Anene closely. I've been watching him all spring. Featured him in a couple of thumbnails, or at least one thumbnail on the channel when I did the spring ball review, but I really like Toby Anene. All right, so at Virginia Tech 2023, they were top 10 in the country in sacks with 39. They also had high turnover production. And you love to see guys like a Creed Thomas on that defense, who's a turnover machine. A Nathan Mitchell on that defense, who's a turnover machine. And believe it or not, in terms of creating turnovers, Gideon Lampron, Leona LaFau are also turnover machines. And then from New Mexico State, prior to being hurt, Tyler Martinez also created turnovers. And so you like a turnover-hungry defense to have a coach that's able to coach them and put them in positions to create turnovers. That's something that we didn't do very well in 2025, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much better we get in 2026. All right, man, listen, now the community is really starting to get together. I see you guys are running up the numbers. Go ahead and hit that like button so more people can pop in here and give us their opinions. Love to see Mix 'em up one. Welcome to the show, sir. Mix 'em up one is in the house. He says, man, I really like this team. Our edge can play. Y'all be underestimating Salter. I wanted him to be our linebacker last year. I want a 4-2 with Boo close to the line of scrimmage, or a 5-2 with Salter on the edge. If you, we drop a lot of content with deep analysis just like this, besides the live show. If you go back and watch my film review of the spring game, I think I did that on Tuesday of this week. To Mix 'em Up's point, Salter on the edge, I was surprised because when he did get to Juju, the way he got to him and he beat Leon Bell to the inside, he did it with a spin move. If Colin Salter this early into his transition on the edge is feeling comfortable enough to integrate a spin move to the inside to get to the quarterback, watch out for Colin Salter. If you haven't watched my review of the spring game, go ahead and check it out. and it'll back up some of the things that Mix 'Em Up is saying about Kylan Salter on the edge. So I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Glove game champion. What happened to the pass rush from 24 to 25? Yeah, I don't know. And one of the guys that I had that were very high on my list in terms of that pass rush was Arden Walker. As you can see here from the statistics that we're looking at, he ended the season with 2.5 sacks, which I'm sure he wanted a better season for himself than that. So great point there, glove game champion. A top Bro Jam player position film study is essential. Yeah, check out the film study videos, guys. I'm not a football coach or the world's greatest film analyst, but I try to get in there with a fan's eye and break down what I'm seeing in a way that's easily digestible and not overly technical. So check out those film reviews. They're going to drop every Tuesday. W. Rashid said, "Yeah, I'm rooting for Kylan Salter." You got to root for him, right? And this is how you get little glimpses into media narratives versus what's really going on within the program. A guy like Colin Salter, with everything that happened with his brother and all of that stuff, you would think if there was ever a guy who'd want to leave, it would be him. But he's a guy that stuck around, not only stuck around, but's been willing to transition to a new position on the promise that he can earn the playing time that he may have had to compete for more aggressively at the linebacker spot. Because here is his competition with typically no rotation. Tyler Martinez, Gideon Lampron, and Leona LaFau. All guys who have more experience than he does. Yeah, talent is great, but game experience is critical. And those guys, once those positions are locked in, are typically not rotating. Guys, it's very odd what we saw with Colorado rotating linebackers last year. Typically, you have your linebackers and they're playing you got your 3-down linebackers, right? You might occasionally, based on scheme or formation, switch out. Maybe you go more DBs or you go more down linemen or whatever. But typically, you got your 2 linebackers that are in there. Where a lot of rotating happens is on that defensive line. So essentially, maybe they just pull him into the office and say, hey, you're big enough, you're fast enough. I think you could play with your hand in the dirt. I think that's where you're going to get a lot of play time and put some of your talent on film. So I love that for K Salt. I appreciate that comment, W. Rashid. All right, let's keep going here with the analysis, and then I'm going to come back to your comments in just a moment. Stay tuned. Remember, Super chats are available. And a Chris Marve defense wants to play in the backfield. And what I loved was that, for example, the Colin Salter sack on Juju was an example of them getting in the backfield. Santana Hopper, 1.5 tackles for loss. Jaja Boyd making plays in the backfield. Boo Carter making tackles in the backfield. Balansama Kamara getting pressure on the quarterback. Toby Anene getting pressure on the quarterback. You love to see it. You love to see that we're playing on the other side of the opponent's field. We want to make plays in the backfield. We want to stop plays before they get started. So this is not a passive defense, right? This is not a wait and see defense that Chris Marve is calling. They're always on the attack. And the reason why they're always on the attack is because they want to speed up your timing. They want to make the quarterback have to play faster than they want to play. They want that offensive line wanting to play faster than they normally play, right? Not allowing the play to actually develop because the defensive pressure is so much on you, you're off your rhythm, all right? And that's where you have mistakes, which is why a defense like this can create a lot of turnovers because they're forcing you out of your normal rhythm and you're making mistakes. Offense is it's very timing dependent, right? If you can throw an offense's timing off, you can create a lot of turnovers. So that's another thing I love about Chris Marve's defensive philosophy. All right, so the guys that were flashing for me during the spring game that I feel like are set up to play really, really well in this defense, I already mentioned Toby Anene, but I also like Balansama Kamara. I think he got off to a slow spring. As many of you know, he's a Muslim, so he was fasting for Ramadan. He was explaining on one of the videos how tough it was. But I think now that he's back and he's getting the normal diet and training regimen like everybody else is getting, he's starting to show that he's going to be one of the best transfer stories that we have in 2026. So these guys are system fit guys, right? Edge rushers are game changers in this defense, but the interior push matters. And we're going to talk about the interior when we talk about the depth chart. And in this defense, pressure equals success. The more pressure, the more we can get in the backfield, the better. But I would be remiss if I'm talking about a Chris Marve defense and I'm not talking about linebacker play. But let's see what you guys have to say in the comments. All right. Big shout out to that guy, Steph0377. Welcome back. Welcome back. Appreciate you holding us down. He says, I want to see Wiggins, what Wiggins can do playing in a 3 technique. Yeah, we've been seeing that in some of the defensive line breakdowns I've been doing. I've pulled plays from Wiggins. And one of the things is not only seeing what he can do, but what he can do consistently. Because he does have flashes. And sometimes I do see him playing high and not playing with leverage. But if he could, because he's a tall guy, if he could work on his leverage and he can play more consistently as somebody who cannot be moved, whether it's one-on-one or in a double team situation on that D line, I think it's going to bode pretty well for him as well. And I think similar to Kylan Salter, this was, do you want to be on the edge competing with a Balansama Kamara, and a Nene, a Salter, a Eziogu, a Lamont Lester, a Yamil Talib, or do you want to move inside with your size where we know we can get you probably into the 2 deep and get you more playing time? So I really want to see him continue to develop there at defensive tackle. So great point, Steph. Easy E, Ruthless. Hold on now. Easy E is up in here, y'all. Welcome. I think this is your first time in the chat. Facts. I said the same thing. He plays high at times. Yep. He just needs, it's a development thing. He's playing a new position, guys. I think a lot of times we think football is football, right? But no, a lot of these guys who are playing defensive tackles have been seeing or have been playing defensive tackle since they were 10 years old. They've been coached how to play the position since they were 10. There's been somebody in their ear all the time. You got to get low. You got to get low. You got to get low for the last 10 years. Quincy Wiggins is coming from the edge where it's about bend and speed instead of just brute collision, car accident after car accident, trying to hold that middle, right, and get to the run. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. Easy E, salute to you, man. Appreciate you being in here. Ready to see how our DBs do and linebackers. Yeah, I think we got a pretty solid DB room. We're going to pull up the depth chart and talk about the DBs. And then somebody said in the comments, man, there's some real conversation about Justin Eaglin as the starter. And for some reason, my man RJ Johnson, people talk crazy about RJ, man. We're going to get into some controversy when we pull up that depth chart, because I want to know what your depth chart looks like. Who do you have starting when it comes to cornerback and stuff like that? We'll get to it here in just a second. All right. Mr. Mix 'em Up says, just imagine against run-heavy teams, we take RJ out and put Boo at corner while running a 5-2 with Salter on the edge next to Kamara, with Toby and Salter out wide, with Manny Eziogu. Yeah, you know what? You could have video game fun with some of these guys, right? You know how in a video game, you don't even have to put people in their real position. You just move them all around because it's a video game. You're trying to optimize for attributes more so than like what the person's actual position is. I think in certain cases, we're so deep in certain areas that you could have a lot of fun with personnel and try to throw the defense off, right? So we'll see how he utilizes these guys. But I think the depth on this team is more important for injury and longevity, where the drop-off between one guy and the next guy is not too wide. Right? You got a Balansama Kamara, Eziogu, Lamont Lester. a guy might have the slight edge there in the competition, but you feel pretty good as you go down your depth chart. You got an Anene, you know, you got a Salter, then you got a Yamil Talib, and all these guys are developing together. They're getting to know how to play each other. Yeah, that's great depth, right? Same thing at linebacker. You got a Tyler Martinez, you got a Lampron, you got a LaFau. You feel pretty good about those three guys, right? In case you got to move one out for any reason or other, you feel very good about who's behind them. And Goldberg has been developing as well, so I'm very interested in his career arc as well. All right, man, but y'all got man, listen, intelligent, insightful, thoughtful commentary. I appreciate y'all, man. This is what this community show is all about, coming in here, letting your voice be heard. I really, really appreciate you. Glove Game Champion says, we were top 10 in college football in completion percentage allowed. I know, it's crazy. The QBR for quarterbacks that we just looked at, I think, was like 133. I mean, we were making average quarterbacks look like national champions. Money Policy News. Oh my gosh. Hey, if it's about money, welcome to the chat. I think this is your first time here. Your comment is, we need big guys in the middle. Is that a pause? No, I'm just playing. We're real mature over here. But yes, I think we've talked about size and do we need more size on the interior? I think guys who are plugged in, like a Coach Dre or Cam Duncan, and don't let me quote Cam Duncan, but probably more Coach Dre. I think there's some talk now by people who are a little bit more plugged in that we might have some guys coming before the season starts. Okay. Carson Crawford is going to be nice. Yeah, I like the fact that he's already getting reps. Right. And reps are really going to help him develop and get better. So I like what I've seen from Carson Crawford so far. And also, don't sleep on Rodney Colton. He looks good in that number 50 jersey. Don't sleep on Rodney Colton, the other freshman, alongside Carson Crawford, right? I think they're both going to develop. And I think we have two linebackers of the future, guys. We have two really good linebackers of the future. So great job to the recruiting room. And more linebackers are going to want to come and play for Coach Marve, especially if he can get LaFau in the NFL. He can get, Lampron and Tyler Martinez really, really good looks this season. I don't know how much eligibility they have, but I would love to have LaFau go to the NFL this year. And if they have eligibility, retain Lampron and Tyler Martinez for another year, and then have the Carson Crawfords and the Rodney Coltons playing in their redshirt junior seasons. Because that's how it used to be. If you have a winning program, dollars are getting thrown at kids all the time, so you're always concerned whether or not a guy's going to stick around for multiple seasons. Perfect example is a guy like Keneal Sweetwine, right? I'm going to take it from the defensive side now, put it on no. Let's stay on the defense. A guy like Mojo Williams. You want to keep Mojo Williams. You want to keep Braylon Edwards all the way to their redshirt junior seasons. Because mark my words right now, Mojo Williams and Braylon Edwards are going to be all Americans. They are going to be all Americans. Let me know what you think, man. Is that a controversial take or not? I'm stamping it right now. Redshirt junior Mojo Williams and a redshirt junior Braylon Edwards are all Americans. All right, let me keep going through the comments here. I appreciate you guys remaining so engaged with the show. Are you guys enjoying the show? Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Let's try to get to 900 subs on this stream, man. Oh, major vibes, man, like major vibes. He just pulled up. Major Vibes just pulled up. Let's see what Major Vibes got to say. Says, I was impressed at the spring game. What we have like 2 to 3 missed tackles. Oh, yeah, I talked about that on the film review. You know how they hammer away? No loafing. If you loaf, you're going to run and everybody run into the ball. I saw some great tackling, but I also saw some gang tackling, which is important in football. Yeah, you want to make one-on-one tackles, but boy, if you have two guys to the ball at the same time, creating some real CTEs out there. I saw Boo Carter and Leona LaFau create a CTE. I saw Tyler Martinez and Makari Vickers team up for a CTE on Mathis. So you want to see great tackling, but you want to see great gang tackling. Multiple guys getting to the runner and putting them down to the dirt. So great point there about improvements in tackling. All right, let me just keep going here because I got a lot of content to go through. So Chris Marve is a former outstanding linebacker in his own regard, and he's a linebacker first type of defensive coach. At every stop, his linebackers have been productive. His linebackers are going to be leaders. That's another group that's full of leaders as well, former captains and playmakers on their previous team. And linebackers are going to control this defense, right? So what must linebackers, or what is he asking his linebackers to do? They must fit their gaps perfectly, something that we were not very good at. And one of the content creators I follow that's absolutely hilarious is Greg said it. And you know, when he gives his analysis of our linebacker play from 2025, I can't stop laughing, right? Because it sometimes it was just confusing why guys were running into certain gaps. They must play downhill with physicality. That's what I love about a Gideon Lampron. I have a whole film review of him on the channel. I didn't have enough film to do Tyler Martinez, but it's the very same thing when you look at Leona LaFau's Texas tape. They have to be able to cover in space. Now, this is a little bit of a question mark for me. So let's talk about it. Can our linebackers cover in space? And if you think so, who's our best cover linebacker? Money Policy says if we can stop the run, I could see 8+ wins. Who is going to score the first TD and how? The first TD on defense? The first defensive touchdown. Creed Thomas with a pick six. I got Creed Thomas with a pick six. Yeah, that's going to be my first defensive touchdown. Creed Thomas with a pick six. If you like that, go ahead and hit that like button. Blake says Carson Crawford and Ronnie Colton are going to be nice. Yeah, 50 and 51. That's a good combo. Great jersey numbers, too. Oh, yeah, the kid out of Washington looked good as well. ESPN got hurt spring game. Hope he's good by the summer. Yeah, if you're going to go down, now's the time to do it because you have enough time. Hopefully it's nothing major, right, first. But if you're going to go down, now's the time to go down. Braylon Edwards needs to do better in coverage. Impression Ashley needs to do better in pass coverage. Yeah, but they're playing against some pretty good, like, obviously it's a mismatch, right? You put a Danny Scudero on a Braylon Edwards, I don't care how good he is in coverage, he's getting cooked. Okay? Some of the times when these guys are getting beat is because Brendan Marion are specifically calling mismatches. Now, what I would love to see is as these guys like a Braylon Edwards at free safety, Preston Ashley at the nickel, I hope they have the ability to like tap each other and say, no, I got him. Because on the touchdown during the spring game, what Brendan Marion called was 2 tight ends to the outside and Danny Scudero on the inside in trips. Now, now next to him, Braylon Edwards is in coverage against Danny Scudero. This is a problem. Because all the quarterback is going to do is just look over there and be like, oh, I already know who I'm throwing the ball to, right? I don't know what the equivalent would be of like in another sport. That'd be like seeing Muggsy Bogues in the post with Shaq. You just throwing it down to the post, give it to Shaq. It's a mismatch. What you want your free safety, Braylon Edwards, to have enough confidence to do is go over and tap Emory Floyd and say, hey, can we switch? I don't know if the defense has enough versatility to do that. Braylon Edwards should be covering tight ends. he's not gonna, not especially if you're in a 4-2-5 and you got a nickel out there. Do not put Braylon Edwards, no matter how much he develops, on a Danny Scudero. Get your nickel guy on him, right? Get a Boo Carter on him. Get a Mojo Williams on him. Get a Justin E. Get somebody else except Braylon Edwards. So it's kind of a created mismatch, right? Now, if Preston Ashley is going to play in a nickel, to your point, Blake, he definitely is going to need to continue to develop in coverage because he's going to be playing with some high twitch guys. Okay. So here's the question. Can our linebackers cover in space? I'm getting behind on these chats, guys. You guys are running it up right now. I met Presto. He's a cool dude for sure. Still a lot of development to work on. Cree and Braylon for sure, as advertised. Perfect prototype. And then you got Mitchell for the strip touchdown, first touchdown. All right, Nathan Mitchell is a turnover machine, but I just feel like Cree Thomas is going to catch a quarterback slipping and just go to the house with it. So Blake is saying it's not only Danny, he's getting cooked a lot. Yeah, man. I don't know if he's really needs to be out there on wide receivers, at least at this stage of his development. I think he might cover a tight end. He's good to cover a running back. But to your point, they're all developing, man. I can't be too critical. He's a freshman. These guys are freshmen. Number 15 on defense. You know what? Let's stop staring at this AI, man. Let's stop staring at this AI right now. Let's go ahead and pull up the depth chart. Let's stare at the depth chart for a second. How you guys feeling, man? You liking the show? Go ahead and hit that like button. Let more people know that we are live. We are live. We are live. Let's get this depth chart. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's my depth chart, guys. Hopefully you get. Oh no, I'm in a bad spot. Can I move myself? Nope. No. Hey man, I think I'm gonna just have to be in the way. I'm not too familiar with this software, and I'll reposition myself later. But let's just look at this. I mean, the only thing that's really cut off here is this little bit of I think Jaja Boyd is who you were referring to as number 50. Oh, did I just have a pause? Appreciate that top row jam, man. Anybody can slip up, man. Anybody can slip up. Appreciate that. All right, so this is my depth chart right now. Let me go ahead and remove this comment, by the way. This comment. All right, so we can see this. Oh, there you go. It's a little bit better. All right, so here's my starting one. My starting one defense. Hey, this is a 4-2-5. 4-2-5 that we're running with this setup, okay? So we got Balansama Kamara, and anybody who has the gold on them is somebody that I feel is really performing well. Really performing well. So we got Balansama Kamara, Santana Hopper, Ezra Christensen. I didn't give him a gold star here because he's just getting back into practice. And Toby and Nene. That's my down four. Rotating behind them is Manny Eziogu, Quincy Wiggins, and Samu. As you can see, because he's been playing his way up as he gets into better physical shape, I have him in the 2 deep, and Vili Tafatafua. Okay. So this is my starting down lineman, and this is my second deep. And then I feel like this rotation here can be peppered throughout this 2 deep. So you might have like a Santana Hopper and a Dylan Manuel, Ezra Christensen and a Quincy Wiggins, a Tyler Moore and a Samu. Same thing here. You could have a Manny Eziogu and a Toby Anene, a Balansama Kamara and a Vili Tafatafua, a Lamont Lester and a Yamil Talib. You could mix this thing up. Like somebody was saying, now you can start playing with it like a video game, right? You can really move guys around the roster based on certain attributes and situational football. Kevin Omondi 1084. Hey man, welcome to the show. I think it's your first time here. Welcome. Says it's a beautiful thing. That's that Bucky voice. Right? I'm telling y'all, Cree, Mitchell, Fontenette, Boo are all ultimate starters. I believe Boyd is the 5th DB based on what I've seen at the spring game. All right, we'll talk about the secondary here in a second. So now let's go to the linebackers. So far, what I've seen paired up is Tyler Martinez and Gideon Lampron. I'm going to put an IR here because somebody mentioned that he came out and there might be some concerns here. But here's a great thing about having depth at linebacker. Even if he's down for a short period of time, you love to have a Leona Lafau being able to move in here. Other people have had conversations with me on the channel about they don't think that Tyler Martinez is going to start over Leona Lafau. I think it's still a battle. But even with a guy like Gideon Lampron out, you see how the depth is really helping this team out. It's really helping this team out. All right. So if he is truly on IR after the spring game, then we could technically do this, can't we? And I still like it. I still like it. Right? Somebody could come to me and say, hey, you could move him back one and go Samu here. I still like it. The reason why I won't do it now is because of play experience. Guys, you cannot put talent over proven production. That was the problem in 2025. What I'm also looking at is not just raw talent or potential. I'm looking to find proven production first. The guys with a lot of proven production on that front four, Balansama Kamara, Santana Hopper, Ezra Christensen, and Toby Anene, they've played a lot of football and they've produced. Okay? All right, same thing for linebacker, right? Tyler Martinez has played a lot of football, so has Gideon Lampron and Leona Lafau. But I like this. So let's say it's Georgia Tech, and this is what our front six runs out as, right? And you know they're gonna come out probably with some dope jerseys, man. I can't wait to see what they come out with, what Nike hooks them up with, what they're gonna look like running out there against Georgia Tech. I know they're gonna be looking clean. All right, but I love that front six. Top Bro Jam says Boo is gonna be that first pick six. It could be Boo, but how many people are trying Boo though? It's like the Travis Hunter thing. You try Boo, you're gonna try Boo Carter at your own peril. You're more likely because Cree Thomas is gonna be matched up against one of your better wide receivers to the outside, your possession wide receiver, your biggest target. You might try Cree because what? You don't have a lot of film on Cree. Right? Once coaches have film on you, you're not like the first read. They're not automatically going to you first. I think they're going to try RJ. They're going to try Creed. They're going to try anybody but Boo Carter immediately. But that's just my thought. That's just my thought. That's why I'm saying Cree Thomas, right? And he's a turnover machine already. They're not even trying Boo in spring ball. All right. So, Like it, don't like it, this is what I have right now. Georgia Tech spring is starting right now. Oh, they're playing right now. All right. Dang, I wish I had known that. But I probably can't even stream it on here or they'll shut down the stream. Kevin Omondi says Boo is him. Yeah, he is him. I have a review of Boo Carter's Tennessee tape on the channel as well. You can check it out. Oh man. Well, prayers up for ESPN, man. Hopefully it's not. You know, you pay a lot of pain can mean a lot of things. So hopefully it's not anything that he has to have a long recovery or maybe even surgery, because then that's going to put him out for even longer. So what we'll do, we need a color for IR. No, that's too crazy. Hello? Yeah, that's better. All right, so for now, we'll just put him on IR. Okay, let's talk about this secondary, which I'm extremely excited about. So I have Creed Thomas, starting cornerback, Boo Carter at the nickel, and then RJ Johnson at the other corner. Now, when I did the updated depth chart, which is the one that I did on Thursday, people were talking crazy about RJ Johnson. They were telling me I'm crazy for starting RJ Johnson over Justin Eaglin. I had Justin Eaglin as the starting cornerback when spring ball started. But as spring ball has progressed, I've seen more and more Justin Eaglin struggle in press man coverage. Now, let me know if you guys have observed the same thing. So much so that in the spring game for the gold team, which in the spring game was wearing the white jersey, the starting two corners for the gold team were Mojo Williams and Creed Thomas. Justin Eaglin was playing the nickel. How many of you guys picked up on that? How many of you guys picked up on that? So when the person came in my comments saying, boy, you crazy, 2026, we're not doing that favoritism stuff that we did from 2025. RJ Johnson is not better than Justin Eaglin. I'm like, okay, but I'm actually watching the film. I'm watching who runs out there with the twos, who runs out there with the threes. I'm watching who's making plays in practice. Of course, disclosure, well off doesn't show us the whole practice. So I might be totally off. But here's the point about this Colorado depth chart. We update this depth chart every week as more data comes out. For example, we just put Gideon Lampron on IR, moved Leona Lafau up. As more information comes in, this depth chart will be adjusted. All right, so right now I have Creed Thomas, Boo Carter, and RJ Johnson. But a couple of guys at that corner spot that are making some noise is Mojo Williams. I am a believer. I am a believer. He still has a ton of development. Okay. But he's going to be a corner without the fanfare of a Cormani McClain that Coach Prime is going to have, I pray, for at least 3 years. And one of the things that is being instilled in him is go make plays. When Mojo Williams gets to the point where he has complete trust in his coaching, you're going to see Mojo Williams with the ball like you saw Coach Prime with the ball. He's going to be one of the few defensive players when you're watching his highlights, he looks like he's on offense because he's always creating turnovers. And that's what I love about what Coach Prime is preaching to this secondary. Stop being scared. Trust your eyes. Trust your film study. Know down and distance and go make a play. We didn't bring you here to sit back when you know down and distance and you've studied film and you know what the wide receiver's tendencies are, you know what the quarterback's tendencies are, and you sit there and watch him run a hitch right in your face, and you don't go and pick that thing off. And you saw it pay off for Mojo Williams in the spring game when he closed out the spring game with that interception that was reminiscent of Travis Hunter against UCF. Bait the quarterback, read his eyes, break on the ball, and make a damn play. I love to see it. I love to see it. Oh. Let's go ahead and give it up. We got a new somebody new in the chat. Bright. I'm gonna just call you Bright. Welcome to the chat, Bright. Says I'm not starting a freshman at corner. Yeah, I'm not saying he's starting. I'm just saying he has worked his way into a comfortable 2 deep. Mojo Williams is out there with the twos every time. Okay. Now, another guy, right, who had, I think, heart surgery or something 2 years ago or a year ago, played in 2025, but didn't have the kind of season that he wanted to have, that I feel like is on the road to recovery post-surgery, is regaining his confidence and starting to make some plays, is Makari Vickers. I really like what I've seen from Makari throughout the spring, and I think he had one of the better spring games of players in the secondary when his man was targeted in terms of pass breakups, and he was a sure tackler, something that he needed to improve from 2025. So there's tons of competition in this cornerback room. The folks that I feel that are solidified starters right now are Cree Thomas and Boo Carter. The rest of these guys are still battling for that other corner spot, including RJ. I'm not saying his spot is secure. This is just my opinion. There is a real battle happening. Do not be surprised or do not write off Makari Vickers. Do not write off Vickers. Okay? He's making plays and he's doing what they're asking him to do. All right? So let's see. What else we got? Let's go to the safeties. Nathan, or somebody says his name is Nathan Mitchell. Nathan Mitchell has been everything as advertised. When he first got recruited, he said one of the things that Coach Prime liked about his tape is his ability to create turnovers. Coach Prime wants turnovers, and Nathan Mitchell is going to give them to him, right? To the point somebody else made about improvements in coverage, I really haven't seen much of safeties versus wide receivers on well off. I've seen occasionally safety versus tight ends. But one of the plays that he made was against Corbin Leisure in the back of the end zone. I had some controversy about whether or not that was a catch in the spring game or not. But he was right there involved in the play, trying to break the play up. It ended up not being a touchdown. We've seen him create turnovers in practices, so interceptions. We've seen him create fumbles, so he's a guy who pursues to the ball, and he's trying to create turnovers. So I think he's basically played himself into the starting free safety spot. Backing him up is the freshman, Braylon Edwards. Now, you know how you say, you got guys when you look at them, you say, oh man, that's a football player. That is a football player right there. A guy like Boo Carter, you look at Boo Carter, you just see him and you see, oh yeah, that's a football player. The way Braylon Edwards plays, when you see him, you say, oh yeah, man, that's a free safety. And it is especially true when you see him in run support. To the point that was made earlier, you want to see him develop as a cover guy. But in run support, oh yeah, give me Braylon Edwards. Because he's the type of guy that is not scared when he sees that number 29 Michael Welsh coming his way. He's not scared when he sees that number 9 Richard Young coming his way. He's not scared when he sees that number 26 Damian Henderson coming his way. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Robert Woolcock, welcome. First timer. Man, listen. Have you subscribed is the real question. The subscribe button is right there below. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. Join the community, be a part of this conversation. And you get a whole bunch of perks if you become a member as well. We got super chats open right now if you want to support the show in that way. Well, welcome, Robert Woolcock. He says, I'm excited about this team. There's a whole new attitude in Boulder. I agree. Whole new attitude. Block dollars. Oh, man, you know, if it has to do money, if it has to do with money, it makes sense to me. Big shout out to Block Dollars 6198. Oregon started a true freshman corner last year, and he was one of the best in the nation. Why not start a freshman? Okay, great question. Great question. Great question. Okay. Why not start a freshman? Michigan started a freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood. Why not start a freshman? If he can play, he can play. If he's the best guy you got, he's the best guy you got. Right? But the thing about starting freshmen is, has he been through the ups and downs? You know, has he? Cornerback is a very, very tough position. You're gonna get beat. Everybody gets beat. Do you have the maturity to respond when you got a wide receiver out there really cooking you and taking you out into deep water? How do you go out into that deep water and not lose your confidence? That's always my concern for freshmen. Starting. You want to give them reps. You want to give them play time. You want to put them in situationally so they can get a taste. But do you start them in the first game of the season? I mean, maybe that Oregon freshman was just a real dog, right? He was a grown man already. Right. Maybe he was just a grown man already. But I could see Mojo Williams getting reps like Coach Prime loves to do with his freshmen, like he did with Quentin Gibson. But Quentin Gibson wasn't a full-time starter. Right. He went with Omarion Miller, Joseph Williams, and Sincere Brown, all guys with a lot of experience. So you want your freshmen in the game, I think, but you want to put them in and give them experience. But I don't think you come out with a freshman in game one against Georgia Tech. Man, those lights are going to be bright unless you're a real dog. Right? Unless you're a real dog. So I appreciate that. I think that this is always an option. But if you got experienced guys, like for example, a Justin Eaglin, right? Justin Eaglin has been to the college football playoffs. Playing against Georgia Tech is not going to be too big for him. Do you roll out a freshman or you roll out Justin Eaglin against Georgia Tech? Because part of it is going to be nerves, guys. Blake Gupton says if they can play them, freshman or not. Have you guys ever been in a high-pressure situation? There's levels to this, man. That Georgia Tech game is going to be one of the biggest and most watched games of the opening weekend of college football. You want a guy like Randon Fontenette, who's played in big SEC games at Vanderbilt, 100,000 plus in the stands, screaming, cussing you out as you walk through the tunnel. But you going in there, yeah, we about to snatch a road win right now in Georgia Tech. You want a LaFau who's been through those real Alabama, Texas battles, the big games. He's been in the playoffs. He played against some real dogs. The lights at Georgia Tech are not going to be too bright for him. Those are the guys you want running out there. Santana Hopper, college football play experience. Abu Carter, right? Tennessee games in the SEC. The lights are not going to be too bright. Creed Thomas, even though he wasn't a starter, he's at Notre Dame. He knows the stakes. Experience counts for a lot, guys. Experience counts for a lot. But I appreciate what you guys are saying. Play them. Play your best players. But boy, when them lights get bright, can you play under pressure as well? Can you play under pressure as well? All right, what else we got? Okay, so now we got the 5-star thing. I don't know. Do you trust 5 stars, Bright? Are you if 5-star means you're a dog? I don't know. I don't trust it. I think there's a lot of politics in that too. Block dollars, man. Don't back down, man. Stand on your principles, man. Say, yeah, he should start, man. This big block dollars, man. I'm standing on that. Nah, I get what you're saying, though. He should play. Best player should play regardless of the class that they're in. I get the point that you're trying to make. We have some real dogs. Lots of state champs. Okay, love that. Mojo is from Edna Carr in Louisiana. Played with great players. Played against great players. I'm in pretty bright light situations. Boy, that Georgia Tech light it's gonna be like the bat signal in Atlanta. Coach Prime returns to Atlanta, trying to get revenge on Brent Key after they came to Folsom Field and took one in a thriller where they won on a QB run at the end of the game to seal the game with Haynes King creating his legend down in Georgia Tech. Who's going to become a legend for Colorado on the road? Oh my God. If you talk about celebrities, Atlanta is going to be on fire. Everybody's going to be down there. That's what we're talking about. That's what the stakes are in that first game of the season. And that first game of the season is going to set the tone for Colorado's 2026 season. Boy, I'm going to be here for it. I can't wait. Black Dollar says, "No, I don't think he should start." Yeah, I think they got they got depth there. He's going to get some play time. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, season seems so far away, but we got guys who need to recover, right? We got guys who are getting surgery. We got guys who are out right now. I want to give Joseph Williams all the time he needs to come back 100%. We need size on the outside, guys. I love Danny Scudero. I love Cam Perry. They're big playmakers. They can play the outside. They can play the inside. They're versatile. We need a 6'2", 6'3" wide receiver, jump ball wide receiver like Joseph Williams is on the outside. We need Hakeem Williams to put pressure on these smaller DBs. Because, there's a lot of big DBs out there, 6'2", 6'3", right? We need our big wide receivers back. We need to give DeAndre Moore back time to come back and be at 100%. Can you imagine a Joseph Williams, DeAndre Moore, Danny Scudero trips? Pick your poison. Pick your poison. I love it. I'm ready. What else we got? All right, let's keep going to the depth chart. So we got Nathan Mitchell starting at free safety. I have Braylon Edwards ahead of Jaden Hardy. I had high hopes for Hardy, but I really haven't seen much from him in terms of playmaking. Again, if I'm missing something, it's probably because they're not showing us everything with Well-Off. But I have the freshman against him. I know he was highly touted coming over from Oklahoma. I just have not seen it. Now, there's a real battle going on between Randon Fontenette and Jaja Boyd, but Randon Fontenette clearly is in the lead. But Jaja Boyd is making some plays. Now, there was a somewhat potentially controversial take that my man David Talks Buffs had, where he had Cree Thomas at corner, Boo Carter at corner, and then Jaja Boyd at nickel, which would put Jaja Boyd on the field instead of having him on the bench, because you could have an additional guy with experience and run support and maybe a little bit more, a better pass cover guy in the nickel while you have Boo to the outside locking it down. That might be a very interesting secondary. Cree Thomas, Jaja Boyd at nickel, Boo Carter at corner, Nathan Mitchell free safety, Randon Fontenette strong safety. What y'all think about that? That's what David Talks Buffs is thinking right now on his roster. Mix 'em Up says there's not enough balls for the yo. Hey, mix them up. They got me too, man. Anybody could get got. You know what I'm saying? Bright says I would not be mad at that choice. I think that's a very interesting choice. I think that's a very interesting choice because you got a lot of talent in Jaja Boyd to have him on the bench just because somebody might be ahead of him, right? So finding interesting ways to get him on the field as well, especially with him coming down and now playing in the box, based on his experience playing free safety as well. He gives you a little bit more speed also. But does he have the ability to cover those fast twitch guys in the slot? That's interesting. That's interesting. All right, guys. So this is my defensive depth chart. Okay, as of right now. Biggest change between what I put out on Thursday and today is the update that Gideon Lampron might be on IR. So we're moving Leona Lafau into a starting role. Interesting for conversation to see how this thing evolves over time is whether or not Boo Carter goes to corner full time and maybe we see Jaja Boyd at nickel because the same thing about is Preston Ashley ready to start at nickel? I don't quite think that is the case. All right. So guys, there you have it, man. Oh, wait, did I finish my analysis? Should I keep going or should I wrap this thing up? I got more to say on Coach Marve, but I think maybe this might be a good point to stop. Glove Game Champion says, I thought Boo Carter was outside now. Yeah, if we see him continue to play outside in practice, then I'll move him outside of the spring game. Everyone, don't forget Q for 6. We're only talking about defense today, unless you guys want to talk about offense. But man, we've been going for an hour and 21 minutes, so we might save offense for next week's community show because we'll do a film review on Tuesday. We'll do the offensive depth chart on Thursday, and then we'll come back on next Saturday to talk about it. Takes on Emory Floyd. Yeah, so Emory Floyd on my depth chart is currently behind RJ Johnson, Mojo Williams, and he's right here. I think Emory Floyd is great to have him backup yet. I still have him as a backup player. Now, for the black team, it was RJ Johnson at corner, Boo Carter at corner, and Emory Floyd at nickel. Just like on the white team, it was Creed Thomas, Mojo Williams with Justin Eaglin at nickel. I think there's a lot of guys with versatility on this team that could move around a little bit if playtime gets a little bit scarce in their original position. Special teams episode, we'll probably do it with the skilled players. So we won't get into the line and linemen and stuff like that. So we'll probably do kick returners, punt returners. Of course, we know who our punter is, mate. And the kicker seems to be Elliot Arnold, with Josh McCormick providing some relief and being our kickoff specialist. But yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think we got some dangerous returners. And if we could, I don't know, who's our special teams coach? I have to do some research on that. But I think we can make some magic happen. We could put some points on the board on special teams now. And I love the fact that we do not have to be in the red zone to kick a field goal. I think we could kick a field goal from 40 yards out and put some points on the board. The offense doesn't have pressure to try to get, within the 40-yard or less range to try to get 3 points. We could get 3 points from outside of 40, which is great. It's a huge improvement. Takes a lot of pressure off the offense. They probably wanted to get Boo Carter playing inside and outside in case of injuries. Yeah, right. But again, a guy like Boo Carter, you also have to think about his NFL draft stock. Right. So I'm sure there are analysts out there as well that have their thoughts on where he might go and how an NFL team might use him, and it might not necessarily be aligned with what he's played in the past. So there's discussions about that. What's best for Boo Carter happening as well. It's Smiley from Jamaica with a different handle. Blessings, 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 blessings. Boom, bye, bye. All the way from Jamaica. Pull up. Big up yourself, Robert Woolcock, all the way from Jamaica, man. I appreciate you being here. We don't have a special teams coach. Niblett and other coaches are doing it. Yeah, Niblett probably had to wear a lot of hats as a high school coach. And special teams was probably something that he needed to make sure he was aware of and how to do and do well. So that's good to see. But with the talent that we have at these kick returners, man, we should take a couple to the house this season. Right. And we should have, like we did have Quentin Gibson as a freshman All-American on special teams. We should have a couple of guys that are vying for honors in kick return. Boo Carter is best in the slot for blitzing and being closer to the ball. And he's a short tackler as well, which we love to see. All right, guys, man, I put in some work. Hopefully you guys put in work by hitting that like button. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Don't be stingy with the subscribe, man. You've been here hanging out with me. We've been having a great conversation. So go ahead and hit that subscribe. And then share this content, man, with somebody who's a Colorado Buffaloes fan who's interested in deep analysis and they want to show up to a live show where people actually have intelligent conversation and are respectful and can reason together. All right, so I close every show like this. I pray that the Almighty is blessing you and keeping you in good health. I pray that whatsoever your hand touches, prosper. And if you're going through some hard times, just remember, hard times don't last forever. Until next time.